Hello and welcome to the Autodromo Nazionale Monza, home of the Italian Grand Prix, the Temple of Speed, for Season 6 of Nighthawk F1 RST Red Lobby's feature race here. What a place to kick off the season. But, before we get into that, let's see where everybody starts. Starting on pole is the number 6 Subaru of Dark Lord GT. He finished 4th in the sprint. Starting second is R.A. Roses in the number 347 Ferrari 296. Third place is T50 Phil in the number 44 Porsche. He'll be looking to rebound from the sprint. P4 is second place finisher in the sprint Fodden, the number 23 Toyota Supra.
And then we have in P5 DWR Mercedes in his AMG, starting on that medium tyre. And then in P6, Pedro, one of our own, starting in the RX Vision, also on a medium tyre. P7, we have Nigel Mansell, the lead VR driver, on the medium tyre in his 992. And then we have Sophie in the top McLaren, starting in P8.
In P9, it is our very own Zigster in the number 73 Porsche on medium tires. Starting P10 is Midnight in his trademark 666 McLaren. Not a good sprint. He'll be looking to rebound from that. He'll be on the medium tire. In P11, it's Joe Nisbet in the number 8 Ferrari 296. He will be starting on the medium tire. And in P12, the sprint winner, it's Iceman in the number 85 Lexus.
And then P13, unlucky for some, we have Big Crazy Bertie, is McLaren on medium tyres. And then in P14, we have our very own Sicily, not setting a time in qualifying in that RCF Lexus, but on medium tyres, also looking to go long. And then Charlie, also not setting a time in his 296 medium tyres from the back of the grid today. So Sicily, this looks like a very entertaining race for us. It looks like we're set up, ready to go. There's got to be a few bods you've got to be keeping an eye on for this one. It's going to be a cracker, I think.
Yeah, as mentioned in the sprint, turn 1 might be a very massive choke point. It'll be very interesting to see how all of our drivers tackle that. I'm very curious to see how well some of the cars that are starting in the back will get on. I think there's a little bit of a strategic choice by the 75 and the 46 to not set a time.
Yeah, quite agree. Like you said, with all the chaos that tends to go into Monza, the first couple of corners, that is probably a very sensible idea. But we think Dartlaw's got the right idea out front, starting in that Subaru. That's going to be very, very quick off the line, and hopefully that means a nice, clean getaway for him.
Yeah, indeed. Of course, nothing's ever certain around here. Let's get out there then and see what these guys could show. Everyone's going to be one to prove their new cars. We'll see what happens here.
Welcome back, everybody. We're here for the feature race for Season 6, Round 1. We've got a jump start from Phil already for the standing start. It's lights out and away we go. The drivers will be heading now down into turn 1. Hopefully nobody gets hits Phil there after having that false start and you stuck on the grid for a while. We're heading into turn 1 now. Dark Lord leads us out with Mercedes getting a fantastic start. Up in a second already. Diving down the inside of Roses up in the 3rd position. Everybody's keeping it fairly orderly right now. Well done, everyone. As, yeah, we've got no incidents into turn 1. Only Phil with that jump start. So heading into turn 3 now. This nice long right-hander. Basically not even a corner. You just have to tilt the wheel a small bit. You can see drivers heading down into Varianta, the second Varianta now. As Fodda in 3rd position, defending from Pedro and Roses. I think Pedro got past Roses there at the start, actually. So a good move from him. Ziggy getting a bit wide. They're getting a bit squirmish. Heading off to the inside, losing 2 positions to Midnight and Sophie. Looking back to the front now, Pedro's a 0.5-second penalty for cutting the track. I believe at the second variante as they head now into Lesmo 2. You can see there, we've got Joe heading down the inside of Phil, managing to get the move done, but Birdie climbing a few positions as well. There's a lot of moves going on in this first lap, especially towards the back. Hard to keep up. But you see here now, Ziggy trying to make a move on Midnight. It's going to be the Porsche versus McLaren, and Midnight is just going to let him by. Easy as that.
Yeah, good bit of communication between Ziggy and Midnight there. Obviously, you don't want to go side by side at the end of Ascari. Bad things happen most of the time, but Midnight's obviously got the slipstream on the back of the Porsche here, so potentially could be eyeing up a move, although it looks like he bumped drafts Ziggy a little bit, so the two working together a little bit to catch Nigel. I was just thinking it's quite unfortunate for Phil because he started on the soft tyres, so he's not been able to capitalise on those softer tyres with that jump start. And obviously, at the back of the grid, he has quite a lot of work to do to get back up there, but we've got a bit of a battle between Joe Nisbet and Bertie, although like you pointed out, Bertie got in that half-a-second penalty, so unfortunately, obviously I think Bertie just needs to let Nisbet through and fight another day. A bit of action at the first chicane. It looks like Ziggy and Midnight came together a little bit, and that's opened the door for Iceman to have a little bit of a look, although he's tucked up. I was going to say he's tucked up behind Ziggy, but he changed his mind and tucks up behind Midnight at the moment. Ziggy going wide around here. He's going to lose a couple of positions. And we've been joined by Charlie for the feature race. Obviously, good addition to the grid in that Ferrari 296. New car for him. And he looks to be trying to make up some moves, obviously starting at the back of the grid.
Early to the feature race, wasn't here for the sprint, but good to have him back on the grid. Iceman got ahead of Ziggy there, so the Lexus moving up a few positions now, and a nice move on Ziggy, who is in the Porsche with Charlie chasing him down behind. Look up to the front now, Mercedes and Fodda having a battle here. Fodda trying to get second position, and he gets it done before Ascari. Nice straight line speed out of that Supra. It's looking very strong today, and now also Sophie heading down the inside of Pedro, and Sophie's going to get the move done into Ascari. Beautiful move from the 650S driver, former 458 driver for season 5, now driving that McLaren. Switching the car. There's been a lot of car switch ups this season, of course, with the addition of the Ferrari and the new Porsche. So it's great to see drivers trying out a new car. And you can see there now, Roses will be chasing down Pedro, as Pedro's going to be getting some dirty air from that McLaren in front, trying to catch back up to it. We'll have some slipstream down the straight, but throughout the rest of the track, we'll have that dirty air. Had clean air originally because there's quite a gap to Mercedes up in the front.
And it looks like potentially Rose has lost a little bit of momentum in that fight as he went off at Lesmo 1. But although saying that, he looks to the inside of Pedro, thinks better of it. And these three quite close to each other at the moment, with Nigel getting closer and closer. Iceman still fighting Midnight a little bit here on the lap number 3. And Charlie is eager to get past Ziggy as soon as he can. And we've got a little bit of battle between Sicily and Bertie emerging through Curva Grande into that second chicane. And it looks like somewhere Joe Nisbet losing getting into 15th, losing those positions that he built up the last lap.
Be going off or something, or maybe serving a penalty. Not sure what quite happened there, but we can see now that Birdie looking for a move on Sirley. Doesn't look like anything comes of it. As Charlie's under pressure now here from 12th position for 11th from the Porsche of Phil. Phil right on the back of that Ferrari. Of course, he's got those soft tires on. He's going to be challenging Charlie in that 296, who's on that medium compound. These softs are quite a formidable tire around here, of course. There's a lot of straights. There are quite a good few braking zones and some really long corners that will stress those tires out. But it is quite good. Quite a good compound because of those straights. You get quite a lot of laps out of them compared to other tracks. As you can see there, Phil really pushing the limit, hitting those curbs in that lovely new Porsche that's been added into the game.
Talking about one of the new Porsches, Ziggy going to the inside of Iceman around Parabolica here, getting the move done, although he looks like he's going a little bit wide, but Iceman tucks up behind, gets a little bit of slipstream, and looks like the two are getting closer to Midnight, who's currently in P8. Looks like he's having a better start to the feature race than he did in the sprint. But a bit of a battle between Nigel and Roses. at the start of lap number 4 into the first chicane. Roses on the outside. Oh, looked like the two nearly came together, and Roses wanted to choose life and lets Nigel through.
Battle of the two new cars for this season, so interesting to see that. We'll see who ends up winning out in the end. As yeah, starting to settle down now as we head into lap 4, although Ziggy here catching up to the 650S of Midnight in that lovely new livery for this season. He's not able to make a move into the second Variante. Unfortunately, he's going to have to stay behind for just a bit longer, as it looks like, oh, Phil's gone wide in the second Variante, and he's kicked up some gravel, dropping from 10th to 12th. He just made a move on Charlie, went a bit wide over the curbs, and now drops to 14 as Murphy and Sirley get by. Unfortunately, that's going to even further hamper his campaign on those soft tires. So that's very unfortunate for Phil there. As we look now again, Ziggy still trailing Midnight as they head down the straight. Will Midnight be very nice again and let him by before Ascari? No, he's not going to. Looks like Ziggy's going to have to remain behind again for now. And as they head now into Ascari, let's see any mistakes from any drivers. This is a very easy part of the track. Part of the track is very easy to get wrong. If you hit one of those curbs too hard, you clonk it too hard, the car will get all sorts of unsettled, and you can head straight off into the grass or the gravel very quickly. So it is going to be one of those corners to watch to make sure drivers are keeping within the limits and not getting any penalties. You will get a penalty if you exceed the track limits on the exit of that corner or cut the curb too much on turn 10. As we're looking now to Sophie, who sets a personal best going down the straight. And a bit more spread out now. Nigel might be under pressure from Roses here soon enough. Looks like Rose is just trailing that lovely Porsche. As yeah, there's a three-way battle here coming down the straight.
It looks like Rosie's got a little bit closer to Nigel on the exit of turn 1 and turn 2. But it looks like that Porsche is a lot better on the power delivery compared to that Ferrari. As it looks like Nigel was able to get on the power a little bit earlier than Roses, and that's helped him a little bit into this second chicane. Although Roses braking a lot later than Nigel, closing that gap a little bit, taking a bit more curb than Nigel as well, which has helped his momentum. Is he eyeing up a move here into Lesmo 1? He goes to the outside of Nigel, sweeps back in, tucks behind. It looks like Nigel made a little bit of a mistake there. Roses onto the inside, going into Lesmo 2 now. And looks like that move is pretty much done and dusted now. Clever bit of racing there between those two.
Yeah, we mentioned earlier, very hard to stick around Lesmo 2, so Nigel had to back off there. I think there's a battle happening further back now as Ziggy and Midnight once again. Ziggy's right there trailing Midnight down the straight, but he just can't seem to get the straight line speed to pull alongside him or get the exit speed out of the corner. And Iceman's kind of just shadowing them as well there. So we'll have to see if there's anything comes of the battle, if anybody makes a mistake or just can't get the exit. But though, as I mentioned that, we've got a 0.5 second penalty for Iceman exceeding those track limits there in Ascari. I mentioned they're quite strict at that corner for the track limits, so you've got to watch out as they head now into the Parabolica.
I've got to say, I'm very impressed with Ziggy's race pace so far in the Porsche. He seems to be doing really well and sticking with Midnight, which is quite impressive. And it's good to see Ziggy, you know, feeling comfortable in a car. Because I think he was driving was it the Alpha last season? I could be mistaken there. And I know that he was having a little bit of a tough time, so it's good to see him, finding a car that suits him a little bit better. Although saying that, it looks like he's outbroke himself into the first chicane. Although he gets that move done and dusted on Midnight, but I think Midnight might have held a little bit back, obviously just so that he didn't, make contact with Ziggy.
An ambitious move there, Ziggy, late braking, good move though. He managed to keep it within the track limits. No penalty for him right now. Midnight's going to be looking to try and make a move into this second chicane, but he's not going to be able to do it. It's just too tight through there. And you see now joining this battle as well in 11th position is Charlie here. You can see he's starting to catch up to the back of Iceman, who's now mounted a 1 second penalty. So he's cut the track limits again at some point there during the lap. So he's going to drop behind Charlie, and Charlie might be able to have a go at Midnight heading past this section of the track. We'll have to see what comes of that. But yeah, it's great to see Ziggy doing so well in that Porsche. Of course, it's quite a big risk choosing one of these new cars like the 296 of the Porsche, because, they can be very good because obviously bop, depending on what the bop is like, the balance performance, you might have the car be really OP, or the car could be absolutely shocking until they do a second bop change. So it's quite of a big leap of faith, especially with the Porsche, which was like, I'm pretty sure the Porsche was added like really close to the start of the season compared to the 296, which might have been a few months earlier. So it's a big risk choosing one of those new cars because they can be quite out of line sometimes. They can be really slow or really fast. So great to see drivers taking that risk with that Porsche, and it seems that it's working out for them. As we're just looking here now, Phil sandwiched in between Iceman and Sidderly now that Iceman served that 1 second penalty. So Iceman losing a lot of positions there, dropping from 10th to 13th.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think it's obviously just the nature of where that penalty burning zone is. Obviously, coming out of Ascari, the long straight to Parabolica, he lost way more than 1 second, and he lost so many positions there. So I'm sure Iceman will be eager to not pick up any more half-second penalties in the rest of this race. But he's still on the back of this pack, so he still obviously can fight for another day and get those positions back for sure. But yeah, going back to obviously the new cars, for a lot of the drivers, like you say, it's going to be a bit of unknown territory with these new cars. But hopefully, nothing too dramatic changes for them, and they're able to kind of keep improving and keep learning these new cars. And as you can see, they seem to be one of the drivers' favourites because we've got quite a few Ferraris and Porsches on the grid. But they all seem to be kind of gelling with their cars. Obviously, first race of the season, it's going to be a difficult race for most of the drivers because unless you've done any practice, obviously you're jumping in right at the deep end, especially with those new cars, like you say. So it's good to see all the drivers, for the most part, touch wood, obviously liking the cars that they've picked.
I just want to mention as well as we see Nigel actually just went off the track there at the exit of Ascari, so he might get a penalty for that, or he might be okay. He did touch the gravel a good bit, so he might have just been slowed down enough to not receive a penalty for that. But I just want to mention, like, usually I will say, oh yeah, this car is dominant at this track or whatever, you know, I like to bring out the manufacturer statistics and stuff like that. But I have to say right now, if my math is correct, I believe the top 7 is made up of entirely different manufacturers, because we got Dark Lord in the WRX, we've got Fodda in the Supra, Mercedes, guess what, he's in the Mercedes.
Finally.
Yeah, he's finally in the Mercedes. And we've got P4, which is Sophie in the McLaren 650S. P5, which is P5, I believe, is Pedro, yes, in the Mazda. P6 then is Roses in the Ferrari, and then P7 was Nigel in the Porsche. Yeah, so we've got completely different manufacturers in the top 7. Obviously, it's broken then at 8th because Ziggy's in the Porsche as well. Like entirely different manufacturers. So it's great to see. Quite a nice mix. And this track really, Monza, it's down to the driver's skill because, like, obviously the straight line speed is one thing. These corners can be quite tricky. If you make a good many mistakes, you know, it's going to come back to bite you with those penalties. And obviously all of the old school track limits. We've got the gravel and the grass. We don't have any of that fancy curbs or anything like that. So Iceman's going for a slide there. Nice catch from Iceman in that Lexus. Managed to catch the that little bit of oversteer. But it's great to see such a nice manufacturer spread across the top 7, specifically at this track. And there is a good spread of cars for this season. As I think Charlie just gave Midnight a bit of a bump there, a bit of bump draft on the straight, as Midnight's dropped a good bit behind now to Ziggy up front.
Yeah, it did look like Charlie gave him a little bit of a bump just before that braking zone into Ascari. So thankfully for Midnight, he was hot on the brakes, ready to stop the car going through there. But yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. It's good to see obviously such a wide, range of different manufacturers. And obviously we haven't spoke about him much because he's kind of just been chilling in the lead. But obviously Dark Lord picking a car that you don't see used much, especially in obviously competitive leagues. You see it used in kind of daily races and stuff like that. But I can't say that I've seen the WRX used much. So it's interesting to see obviously that he picked it and gone for a little bit more of a wild card pick this season. But he seems to be doing quite well in it. Obviously, he's chilling in P1 at the moment. I don't think anyone's kind of close to him to bother him at the moment. But you never know. Maybe towards the second half of the race, Fodda might have a few things to say about that.
Charlie's gonna have a move here now on midnight, I believe. And Phil is coming to the pits now, hitting off those soft tires. So I think that the Phil is damaged as well. Managed to get damaged somewhere around the track, so that's very unfortunate. But
Oh,
he's coming off the soft tires. Oh, a bit of contact there.
yeah, it looked like, or Charlie. Oh, it looks like I think that was the Lexus of Citily being involved in that as well. It all heated up very quickly. We were just talking about Phil in the pits, but it looked like Charlie went to try and go for the inside of Midnight into Lesmo 1, caught the wall, which then pushed him into Midnight, pushed Midnight into the gravel, and then as Midnight was spinning, Citily, unfortunately, being caught unaware as he was coming through Lesmo 1, hit the McLaren of Midnight. So obviously very unfortunate for those three there. I think Charlie kind of knew he made a potential mistake, waited for Midnight, and he has let him back through. But I believe that most of those cars have now picked up damage because of that. I think Charlie just avoided damage because of the hitbox, but Midnight and Citily unfortunately do pick up damage because of that.
Certainly just got a bit caught in the crossfire there. It didn't really do much, but looks like he's going to stay out with that front end damage. He probably feels a bit confident that while he's behind Joe, the slipstream will make up for the loss of straight line speed. Of course, when you do get the damage here on the front end or the rear end, it does tend to limit your top speed quite badly, and obviously your grip too. As Midnight now comes into the pits to repair that damage, so that's going to be an early stop from him off the mediums, which is unfortunate. He would have wanted to stay out a bit longer, but because of that, he does have that damage on his front right. Fodder with a 1 second penalty. Don't know where he got that. He must have cut one of the corners pretty badly. But I was just mentioning Phil pitting, repairing that damage, but also pitting off those soft tires. So that now leaves Sophie as the only person on track on the soft tires, I believe. Except for Midnight, who just decided to pit onto the softs. Just as I
He must have heard you. But I think Pedro was able to overtake Sophie in the last couple of laps when all the drama was kicking off. But yeah, like you say, obviously Sophie being the one of the drivers that started on the softs, still on the softs. Oh, you can tell through how the car was handling through Ascari. The grip levels of those softs are definitely, seen a better day. We'll probably see her come into the pits in the next couple of laps as Roses is definitely gaining time on that McLaren in front of him. But Citily looks like he's lost a bit of time as well. Maybe because of the damage, maybe obviously the bit of instability with the car, and it looks like Bertie is back in the mix, trying to maybe eye up a move on Citily. But yeah, going back to Midnight, I thought he was in there for a better feature race, maybe a bit of luck going his way. But it looks like Charlie put a stop to that.
That's unfortunate. Midnight won't be too happy about that. You can see there, certainly he's put on his hazards. I believe he's pulling his pits. I think that's why he's doing that. Yeah, as he comes in the pits, we've got a few pit stops now happening. We've got Sophie, we've got Roses, and we've got certainly coming to the pits. So a bit of an early stop for Roses. Did Roses perhaps get damaged, or is he just coming into the pits early? Because he was on the mediums, I believe. So interesting decision there to pit early, but he's going to come out of the pits now on some fresh tires. So we'd have to figure out what that was about. Maybe it's an early call, trying to mix up the strategy to try gain some positions, do a little undercut. I'm sure we'll have some more information on that. But that leaves the field a bit jumbled now. We've got a few pit stops after happening. I believe about 5, if I remember correctly, 5 pit stops. So Midnight's going to come out here, and he's actually going to come out ahead of Citily. So that's any conciliation. He's gonna consolation. I mean, he's gonna have a position gained.
Interesting one where you mentioned obviously Roses and Sophie. Obviously, Sophie was ahead of Roses before they both pitted. Roses did overtake Sophie in the pits. Roses has opted for the soft tyre, not full fuel, about 3/4 of a tank, but Sophie opting for the mediums on about 3/4 of a tank. So it looked like maybe Roses had a little bit more in the tank and just wanted a quick pit stop and to overtake Sophie. But yeah, like you say, a bit of an interesting one there. Maybe he just wanted to have that track position over Sophie. Maybe it might complicate his strategy a little bit, because like you say, that's quite an early pit stop for someone that started on mediums.
In a case of, like, I mean, that's really smart actually from Roses to get that like kind of overcut on Sophie, or undercut, sorry. Well, not really undercut, it was the same lap. Like, so, I mean, it was really just like a same lap cut, fuel cut, we'll call it. Didn't take as much fuel as Sophie and managed to get out ahead of her. So, that was interesting there. Now, I do know the 296, sometimes it doesn't play very well when you're behind another car. So maybe he just wanted to try get out ahead on those soft tires to try and make some ground up and try get ahead for when they pit next time. I'm sure we'll find out all in the end. I'm sure it will come to fruition by the end of the race. But it was a very interesting strategy call there. And Roses does come out on the track ahead of Sophie. As you see there was a small bit of a battle going on between Joe and Iceman, who are now moved up into 7 and 8 positions after those pit stops. And they're a bit side by side in turn one, but nothing coming of it for Joe. And now also Charlie's trying to catch up to Birdie here. Hopefully he doesn't make the same move on the inside into lesson one. I'm sure he's learned his lesson, and he has. He's learned his lesson this time around.
Yeah, I don't think he wants to risk that again. Because obviously I can probably guarantee that the stewards will be looking into that. So he's trying to be a bit more of a more patient driver, I think, after that incident. But yeah, you mentioned Iceman and Nisbet there. They've been trading some paintwork for the last couple of laps, and it looks like they're going to go again through Ascari. Nisbet on the inside, Iceman taking the outside, and nice move by Nisbet there. He gets it done. Oh, Iceman looking a little bit sideways on that coming out of Ascari, but just having a quick little look through everyone. Phil, unfortunately, obviously, after that first couple of laps, he's in P15. I think it's the race that kind of could have been for Phil. I don't think luck has been on his side for this race.
It's interesting. I mean, like, I know Phil from previous league races in the previous seasons, and he's a very good driver. I don't know. He just sometimes it just seems with these feature races he'll have issues early on and can't seem to convert it into a result. But like, he's a very strong qualifying driver. I can tell you that much because many times he's qualified ahead of me. It just seems sometimes just can't convert it into a result for the feature race. But I'm sure he'll be trying to claw that deficit back, and we'll see how he manages to claw that back by the end of the race. Just looking here now, we've got a nice gaggle of cars, about 5 cars here, all within a few seconds of each other. That will be interesting. Dark Lord leading the pack, who's out on those soft tires. So we'll see if he can get those up to temperature soon enough. And sorry, not soft tires, medium tires, my apology. And see if he can get those tires up to temperature and pull away from this pack.
Yeah, obviously, recent pit stop for Dark Lord, which obviously promotes Fodder into that P1 position at the moment. But I'd say obviously at the minute the net leader is definitely Dark Lord. He had quite a healthy gap to Fodder. But I've got to say, obviously the top 3, Fodder and Mercedes, they've had a relatively chill race. They haven't been bothered too much, but obviously you've got to give full praise to them. They've been doing their own thing, keeping it clean, and I think keeping each other honest, obviously keeping the pressure on each other, which is good to see. Pedro, obviously a little bit behind these guys. He's in P3 at the moment. New car for him as well. Obviously the RX Vision. You can definitely hear this car going around the track, and I'm sure the drivers can hear that track hear the car when it's behind them. But it looks like Mercedes is coming into the pits. Nigel also coming into the pits, which will give Dark Lord a few positions back. As it looks like all 3 of those cars, although Bertie last minute decision to not pit, but Nisbet and Iceman and Charlie come into the pits.
Of course, if you look at all the tires as well, this is a fuel limited race. There's a lot of straights, as I mentioned. The mediums are not the reason people are pitting. With many other races, it's a similar case. But sometimes if you got nice fuel conservation, you can run the mediums down enough to the point that you have to pit for tire wear for the mediums. But there's very little wear on them, as you can see. Like this is 14 laps now, nearly halfway distance that they got on the mediums, but they had to pit because of fuel related concerns. So like you could run those tires, honestly, with the state that Fodder's tires are in right now, you could maybe run those tires to maybe like lap 28 or something, like easily, like very close to the end of the race. But because of the fuel, they have to pit at lap 14, and we'll have to see, depending on the fuel conservation now, like if you were to go onto the hards, for example, you could try conserve fuel to 31 and get to the end of the race, but most people are going to opt for the softs because usually we don't really use the hards anymore. Softs are the go-to strategy for, you do 2 soft stints or 1 medium stint and 1 soft stint, and you kind of leave it at that. But track is a bit more quiet now. We got cars circulating at various points of the track. We got some in Parabolica, some in the Lesmos, and nobody in turn 1 right now. But yeah, good bit of things to look forward to because we do have Phil, Iceman, kind of looking very close to each other, and I think Phil will be making a move here soon on those new tires. But we see Fada, Pedro, and Ziggy coming to the pits. Top 3 right now coming into the pit lane for a fresh tank of fuel and a fresh set of tires.
Yeah, like you say, obviously about the tyres, they look relatively healthy. We've seen much worse, people driving on much worse in this championship. Oh, I interrupt myself by Phil has made a move on Iceman into Ascari, breaking up the two Lexus cars that always seem to be together. I think there's definitely a magnet between those two, the two Sutu drivers, as Nisbet looks like he's going to try and make a move on Iceman as well before Parabolica. Looks like he's about to get that move done, although Iceman brakes a lot later, tries to hang it on the outside, but it looks like Nisbet has made that move stick. Yeah, obviously, like you say about the tyres, they looked relatively healthy, but like you say, the track with the long straights, burning a lot of fuel for some of these cars, and yeah, if you could hang it out, the cars could have a bigger fuel tank, I think a lot of these drivers would like that, but not in the case of Monza. But obviously, some of the different tracks that we'll visit throughout the season, they're going to be a bit more kind of tyre wear tracks where you don't have to change. Well, you don't have to pick up as much fuel, but you have to change your tyres a lot more. So it's all swings and roundabouts. I'm sure the drivers are enjoying a bit more, I guess, a bit more grip on these tyres than what they used to.
Of course, as we Joe Nisbet making a move there for 14th position on Iceman, both on new tires, but Iceman had just come out of the pits very recently before that, so didn't really have lots of age on that tire, didn't have a lot of temperature in them, so it was very easy for Phil and Nisbet to make those moves. It does matter a lot. I mean, it doesn't tell you really the tire temperatures in GT, but you do feel that lack of grip, especially around a track like this with not many corners. You do feel that lack of grip on the first lap. You feel like you don't know what to do with yourself because you've got a lot more grip, but you also feel like you can't use it much. And once you get past lap 1, you're gonna settle into it then and be a bit better. But yeah, bit quiet on the track right now. Good few gaps now, considering those overtakes have happened, and Dark Lord back up into the lead after those pit stops.
Yeah, and quite interestingly, Bertie at the moment in that P3 position, he seems to be hanging it out as best as he can. He's quite high up on the grid, which is good to see. Although that fuel tank is definitely flashing at him. But to be fair play to Bertie for sticking out for 16 laps on those medium tyres and that fuel tank. He's definitely been saving some fuel to extend his strategy, which is good for him.
Great in these races at saving the tires and the fuel. I mean, it's happened many times before. I've talked about it many times before too with Birdie and that McLaren. They seem to be like in sync, like all the time, managing to save, be very fuel efficient and tire efficient. So no surprise there from Birdie. He's going to be probably pitting this lap, managing to extend way further than some of the other drivers. So good going there from the 650S driver. I hope he can get back to the pits with that much fuel. I can barely see the red on that fuel tank. He might have to start lifting and coasting here soon.
Yeah, I think lucky for him, the pit entry is not too far away now, so he can pretty much coast it, although he does full send it into the pits on 0%. So any further, I think definitely that the car would have slowed right down for him. But a bit of a move between Iceman and Nisbet in the last lap. Those two are battling for 14th at the moment, although Iceman, big drift coming out of Ascari, does lose a bit of momentum. But Phil looking to try and make a overtake on Sitaly. going into Parabolica, the last corner at Monza. Italy on the outside, Phil dives on the inside, holds that inside line, and gets the move done. Although Italy will be in the slipstream of the Porsche, so can he try and get that 12th place back? We shall see. As Bertie still refueling the car, obviously will drop him back quite a bit, but he looks like he's going to come out just at the back of this little pack that we've got. Phil and Italy still side by side, although Phil has got the slight edge on Italy going into the first chicane. And Bertie's come out of the pits in 15th.
Soft. Interesting. Because, like, he probably would have been able, like, obviously we have the 2-tire rule here in this league, so, like, he has to pit onto a different tire that isn't the mediums. But, like, if only there was, like, a compound in between, like, soft and medium, that would be perfect. It would be perfect for this distance here. We've got about, what, 14 laps-ish? And he could use up a bit more of the tire, have a bit more pace, but not have it be as slow as the hards and not wear as fast as the softs. It'd be great, because that would be perfect for a situation. But he has to put on those softs, so I don't think he'll be able to stay out on those tires too long. We'll see, though. I don't know, like, Sarah, do you know what the general lap distance for the softs is? Like, how long do you think they can last?
I believe that quite a few drivers use the softs on this sprint race, which is about 8 laps long, and they had a bit of health left, but they weren't the best looking. So I think it's anywhere between, I'd say, 10-ish laps. So quite interesting, obviously, for Bertie to go on the softs with a full tank of fuel, because he's not going to quite get the full kind of benefit of those soft tyres. So bit of an interesting call from Bertie there. Maybe the better option would have been to go on the mediums for the second stint, and then right at the end, maybe go for a little soft run. But I think you could be onto something with a tyre that's in between the softs and the mediums. You might have to look into that, Mac.
Develop a new compound just for next season, but
yeah.
yeah, I mean or I'd say what would be better is if he went medium, soft. That's probably what he's going to do. But I don't think he's gonna be able to get those softs to the end of the race. So probably we'll have to pit again. I was surprised pit for full fuel though, because he made it to about, what was it, 16 laps to 17 with a full tank. Could have probably shortened it by about 2 laps, and he would have probably made it to the end. But maybe he's just being cautious. He wants to maybe push a bit more on this stint, use a bit more revs on the straight, you know, because obviously we love short shifting, we love to lift and coast, but he probably wants to use a bit more of that rev bar or that speedometer. So you see here Fada setting the new fastest lap of the race by 13 thousandths of a second. Not much in it, because that's how close it is. And Dark Lord, you can see him right up ahead of him as they head now into turn 1. Towards the back here, we've got Charlie once again on the back of Midnight. Midnight pitting, of course, early on in the race because of that damage. Charlie managing to not get damaged, luckily, and stay out, but is now behind the fellow he just crashed into a few laps ago. So we'll have to see, we'll have to watch the space, make sure nothing goes on, but I can't lie, Midnight's rear left is looking a bit grim. He might be seeing Charlie and being like, yeah, I might go into the pits. No, he's not going to go into the pits, he's going to stay out. If I was Midnight, I would jump straight into pits. I would not want to be around Charlie after he just hit me. But we'll see now into turn 1, side by side, the McLaren versus the Ferrari. Charlie's going to give him a lot of room there. That was very generous. And Midnight going a bit too late on the brakes. And that move is finished by the exit of turn 1.
Yeah, the two actually were quite respectful there. I don't know if you think the same, because obviously I think the two were a little bit scared about making contact with each other again, so they gave each other plenty of room going through that first chicane, which is obviously good to see. But I don't think Midnight could have fought that position too hard. Like you mentioned, obviously his tyres not in the best state, but having a little look up, it looks like Roses might put up a little bit of a fight for that last podium spot. I think it's the closest that he's been to P3 Mercedes at the moment. And same again with Fodder and Dark Lord. Those two seem to be a little bit closer in the second stint of the race. But what about you? It's been a good race so far.
I believe Rose will be pitting because he's got very little on his tires, so I don't know if he'll be able to catch up. He might catch up, but I don't think he'd be passing him because he's gonna have to pit anyways. If he passes him, fair enough, but he has to pit. He has to pit anyway. So like we'll see what goes on, but like he might be better biding his time and waiting to get by until he pits because it might just slow him down. But race is going pretty good so far. I say this every race, but there's always this stage of the race we've got people on different strategies. I say it every single race. I'm not going to stop saying it because I keep saying it. But we've got people on different strategies. It's all going to come together at the end as Midnight dives into the pits. We're going to see another wave of pit stops here from Midnight and Roses. So Midnight comes in the pits. Roses will be next lap, I believe. I don't think he'll be able to stay out for much longer. And yeah, just looking here as well, I believe Joe is catching up to Sitterly into turn 1. Bit far back, but it was getting there was a bit of a closing rate there. It was a bit high, so I was wondering if he was going to make a move, but looks like he was being a bit cautious. But yeah, everybody on different strategies. It's all going to come together at the end. We'll see now who's doing what.
Yeah, I've got to say the end of the race is always the most exciting bit because, like you say, it's where everyone's strategies kind of come together and meet. Although, it looks like Roses went really wide coming out of Ascari there. Maybe
rear left.
Yeah,
rear left's a bit dead.
That grip on that Ferrari must have been a bit difficult to handle round there. So, like you said last lap, I could imagine him diving into the pits at the soonest opportunity, which I believe he's coming around the Parabolica now. Is he staying in? Yep, he's got. Oh no, he goes around for another lap, Mac.
Surprising. That Ferrari. You might want to stay on board with him because that Ferrari is going to be very annoying to control. He's trying to extend it to get the fuel tank to 0, but I don't know. I'd be quite surprised if that car holds up. If it does, it's gonna be hard to control it. Also, one more thing I want to mention. I just want to mention real quickly. We haven't really talked much about them this race. Is Pedro? He's leading a bit of a lonely race there in P5. He's kind of just he's chilling. He's got a good gap in front and behind him, and I mean Sophie is the closest one to chasing him down, but that has not really been a threat for much of the race, and he's been kind of just driving around doing his thing, and he's been putting in some consistent lap times.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Actually, like saying that, everyone kind of in that bit of the track at the moment, Pedro, Sophie, Nigel, and Ziggy, they've been kind of running their own race, relatively similar to each other, but they've been chilling. They've been probably having the time of their lives, obviously putting pressure on each other, but not too much pressure that they, force each other into mistakes. So good to see those drivers doing so well. Oh, that Ferrari looking quite hard to handle around Ascari. He was flicking it one way, flicking it the other, trying to counter steer that Ferrari. Manages to keep hold of it, but that left rear is dead.
Great car control from Roses and will be absolutely coming to the pits this lap. But you can see, like, of course, he got an extra lap out of the tires.
He's drifting.
But yeah, exactly. He's drifting on the Parabolica. He's got an extra lap out of his tires. But look at the gap between him and Mercedes now. Mercedes was right in front of him, and Mercedes is like halfway up the straight now, while he's coming around Parabolica. Like, was it worth it to get that extra lap out of the tires and fuel? Like, I don't really know. And Sophie's coming to the pits now as well. So yeah, this second wave of pit stops here, we had Sophie, we had Roses, and we had Midnight a few laps before, all coming to the pits. So Sophie, once again, Sophie and Roses pitting at the same time. Is this going to be another strategy? Is Sophie going to try jump Roses in the pits? I think they might be too far apart, but we'll see.
It's good that you pointed that out, because I was thinking the same. I was thinking obviously those two pitted at the same time last time. Obviously Roses getting the jump on Sophie, but did that last lap cost Roses too much? Will that kind of reduce the gap between those two drivers again? It looks like it will reduce, but as you say, obviously Sophie a little bit further back. Although saying that, she looks like she's reduced that gap. He's just going through turn 1 at the moment. She's making her way to that 50 brake marker board going into turn 1. So she's only a couple of corners behind Roses now.
Yeah, so a good bit of time gain there now. Obviously, Roses is going to have slightly new tires, not slightly new, slightly cold new tires. And Phil is in the pits also getting some fuel, switching off those medium tires. But Rose is going to have a bit of traffic here. Iceman is in front of him, and it's going to be hard to get past. Although Iceman might make that a bit easy for him because he just went off the track over the curbs. And yeah, okay. Well, Iceman heard me talking and was like, all right, I'll just let him pass. So, but yeah, Iceman had a bit of an issue there, broke a bit too late and lost grip and went over the curb. So losing time out to Roses, letting him pass. So that traffic didn't play as much of a part as I was hoping it would. But Mercedes is coming to the pits now, coming off the soft tires, 16% fuel. Let's see, 3rd place. Let's see what he does.
Yeah, he's been having a great race, and it's so good to finally say that Mercedes is in an actual Mercedes.
Yeah, of course. I mean, driving was it the BMW last season? I don't know.
It was.
Or was it? There was one season driving BMW, I think.
I believe he's driven the BMW. He's driven the GTR. I think we've seen him in the GTR more. But yeah, it's it's always a pain to say Mercedes in a different car. So it's quite nice to say that he's actually, in a Mercedes this season, and he seems to be gelling quite well with it at the moment. Obviously, I think he's only one of 2 drivers that picked the Mercedes this season, if I'm corrected. I don't know. I'll have to fact check that after the race. So it's not been a car that many people have picked this season, but they have in previous seasons. So maybe Mercedes trying to, resurge the love for that car. Oh, it looked like
close to Nigel there.
Yeah, it looked very close between the two, and Sophie, good car control, managing to keep hold of that McLaren at the moment. But obviously, that's not going to help in her battle between her and Roses, being stuck behind Nigel at the moment.
Yeah, of course, going to hinder that chase to catch up to Roses, who jumped her on the first set of pit stops. Now we've got the top 2 entering the pits here now. Dark Lord and Fada, one on mediums, one on softs, one on 8% fuel, the other on 4%. We'll see now. Fada is going to have to take longer to fuel up, so I don't think there'll be any time gained under this pit stop, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. This means now that I believe both will be going on to the soft tires. So that will be interesting to see. They'll be setting some blistering lap times for the end of the race. That means Pedro will inherit the lead of this race. As we see now, Sophie trying to make a move on Nigel into a Ascari, side by side. Nigel's going to go onto the curb. Not a lot of space there. And Sophie has to stay behind Nigel. That's going to lose her a lot of time staying behind Nigel after he goes wide. So we'll have to see, can Sophie manage to make a move into Parabolica? And Sophie gets a 0.5-second penalty. This is not going to help her in her chase to Roses.
So I'm surprised Nigel didn't pick up a half-second penalty as well, because he did cut quite. We went off track quite a bit in that first part of the Ascari, but yeah, Sophie I think picked up that half-second penalty on the second part, kind of hopping over the curb. So that will kind of hinder, like you say, that progress she was making to Roses. She goes for the overtake. Oh, Ziggy coming out of the pits as well. Gets very close to Nigel. We'll see Nigel crossing that white line. So not much Ziggy could have done about that. But Nigel trying to get back on into 6th place here. Although doesn't fight it too much, as he knows obviously he's going to inherit that 6th place back towards the end of this lap.
As we're just looking now, Sophie's going to have to serve that 0.5-second penalty to see if she can pull away to not get overtaken by Ziggy and Nigel. As we see Birdie coming out of the pits here now, getting overtaken by 650S teammate Midnight. We'll have to see now. Birdie will try and get past him, try clear Midnight, as he's been out here now on slightly older tires for a few laps on those mediums. And yeah, nice train of cars here. They're all kind of within a few seconds of each other, so we'll see if anything comes of that. Good few drivers on soft tires. Ziggy, can I just say, doing a great performance here so far this race, in 8th position right now, and I hope we'll get a good few more positions towards the end of this race, but doing a fantastic job there in 8th right now.
Couldn't agree more, and he might actually inherit 2 positions, because Nigel has picked up a half-second penalty, which obviously will slow both Nigel and Sophie down. So Ziggy put himself in a great position there to maybe gain 2 positions, although he is a little bit further back from Sophie, but might be able to get the slipstream from that McLaren into the next lap. But yeah, he's doing an amazing job so far. It's so good to see him doing so well and building his confidence with that Porsche. And obviously, thank you GT7 for giving Ziggy a car that is making him feel a bit more confident and allowing him to get some good, obviously, performances like this one that we've seen so far. Although Nigel looks like he might be coming back at Ziggy here. Ziggy's in a little bit of a sandwich.
Roses and Pedro came out very close to each other. Just double check. Yeah, there's Roses and there's Pedro. So Pedro just about came out of the pit lane ahead of Roses. Sorry to interrupt there. It was just they were very close on the minimap. And yeah, they came out quite close to each other. I believe there was nearly a point they might have been side by side for a second before Roses had to kind of back off. So yeah, interesting stuff there. And we'll see if Roses can keep on the back of that very fast, very slippery Mazda.
Oh, Pedro taking a lot of the AstroTurf there. Although he seems to be, holding off Roses at the minute. And like I said earlier, Pedro having a relatively quiet race. I think that's going to be a bit interrupted now by Roses trying to get that 4th place. These two drivers having a little bit of a battle in the sprint race, so hopefully they'll keep it clean this time. A little bit further back, we've got Bertie and Joe having a little bit of a fight. Believe that's going into Lesmo 2. Joe holding that P12 position for now. But Bertie, obviously on those soft tyres, about half a tank of fuel left. He's trying to get that P12 off of Joe, but I think he's going to have to wait until after Ascari, although he looks to the inside but thinks better of it. But having a look back up at that 4th place battle, looks like Roses is a little bit closer this time.
Happened to Bertie. Yeah, Joe just ran wide at Ascari, so Bertie got a position there, got really squirmish heading into corner 8 and then went wide at corner 10, which makes up the Ascari complex. But Bertie must have lost time or something, or made a mistake, because dropped quite far from Midnight and then got overtaken by Joe before Joe made that mistake and gave it back to him. But yeah, we'll have to see if Bertie can try catch back up to Midnight in a second. But looking back up to the front now, the current order is Dark Lord 1st, Fodda 2nd, Mercedes 3rd, Pedro 4th, and Roses, who goes for a trip in the gravel, in 5th. Light bit of gravel picked up there. So we'll have to try clean off those tires. Of course, the gravel mechanics in this game are quite interesting. They if you got dirt on your tires, you will lose a lot of grip.
Yeah, and it looks like he's trying to maybe potentially try and force Pedro into a bit of a mistake here, because he has made Pedro go a little bit defensive going into Ascari. Although Pedro keeps hold of it, puts that car on the curbs. And looks like that gap is relatively the same at the moment.
Ferrari got a good exit out of that Ascari chicane, but I don't know if it'll be enough to get him by the end of Parabolica. It looks like they're fairly close, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Might have to wait till the straight, as long as the Ferrari doesn't get too much understeer in that dirty air. As we look now, Sophie under pressure from Ziggy in 7th position, doing amazing job here to get 6th in the first race of season 6 feature race would be quite a nice achievement. We'll have to see now. Ziggy getting that slipstream down this main straight. It's going to be the 650S versus that lovely new GT3 RS Porsche, as they're heading down now, heading into the first corner, as there's a yellow flag for some reason. Not quite sure what happened there. Possibly Roses. Did Roses have an issue or something?
So, just hearing from the pit box, it looks like Roses had a bit of a trip across the gravel, which that would make sense because he has lost quite a bit of time to Pedro. So obviously, last lap drove over the gravel. This lap took a bit more of a trip into that gravel, which has lost him a bit of momentum. But looking a little bit further back to that battle between Sophie and Ziggy, Ziggy a little bit closer this time. Sophie on the defensive into Lesmo 2. Come on,
Ziggy
Ziggy.
just has to
Ziggy.
stick it.
Oh. Also, looks like Midnight might be getting a little bit closer to Sidley as well. Bertie having a little
Side
bit
by
of...
side.
Oh.
Nothing coming of it.
Oh no, Ziggy, hold it, hold it! Oh no!
Oh, he didn't hold it. Oh. Dirty
Aw.
air.
Man. Well, up until that point, obviously Ziggy having a brilliant race, and we all know how easy it is to lose it coming out of there. So, yeah, unfortunate for Ziggy, but I think obviously he can still take a lot from this race, and it's not over just yet. We've still got 4 laps to go, so maybe a quick pit, repair that damage, maybe go for the fastest lap, or try to.
It's really unfortunate. I think Ziggy just got a bit caught up in the dirty air after trying to make that move. Cut the curb too much. And yeah, bottomed out on the curb and caused him to spin around. So that's really unfortunate. I was really hoping to get that move done. It would have been so cool to see him up there. But yeah, that's unfortunate. He's going to have to pit to repair that damage. Yeah, as you mentioned, try to put on the softs and get fast lap. But unfortunately, unless something big happens in these last 4 laps, I don't know if he'll be able to gain those positions back.
Yeah, and obviously... Oh, and we've not been able to catch it on camera, but Bertie picking up some front-end damage within that last couple of laps. Maybe having a bit of an off-track excursion or a bit of an impromptu meeting with a barrier. But he comes into pit and to repair that damage. Maybe, again, a fresh set of softs. But just eyeballing that time that Dark Lord set earlier, a 1:47.7, I feel that's going to be quite a hard lap time to beat, Mac.
Quite quick pace being set there, and of course when they get down to the lower fuel loads, it gets a lot easier to set those faster laps. Like it's unfortunate though to see a few drivers getting damaged towards the end of this race. Now drivers are starting to get tired. You know, it's the last 3 laps. They're trying to bring it home. Might have some pressure, of course. Like of course Z was trying to pressure Sophie, trying to get an overtake done, and you know, it's very easy. You've been driving around the lap now, not the lap, around the track now for about what, 8-lap feature race and nearly 28 laps for the wait, did I say 8-lap feature race? I mean 8-lap sprint race and a 29-lap feature. Even I'm getting tired. I'm getting tired as well. I'm not even driving. so but you get the point. Like they've been driving around for a good while. They would have had practice and qualifying as well. So you know it's it can get you can just make a mistake. You might get a bit too overconfident and make a mistake there. But even I can't even get it out. I'm confident. I'm not even driving. Like I'm just watching the guys go around. Like, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I think you make a really valid point in there that obviously concentration levels may be dipping a little bit towards the end of the race. Obviously, like you say, a few drivers making some little mistakes here and there. But obviously, and it is getting a little bit dark as well, so maybe the change of light affecting some of the drivers, you never know. But I think obviously the vast majority of drivers having a good start to the season. I think for some, obviously, they'll want to try and improve. Like I know Midnight will probably be maybe a little bit disappointed with his results, obviously, because it's not reflective of his speed at all. We all know how fast he is. We know that he's been, sorry to bring it up, Midnight, but he's finished P3 in the championship, I think 2 or 3 times. So we all know he's quite fast. So hopefully, obviously maybe a bit of a poor start to the season, but hopefully he'll be able to go into round 2 with a little bit more luck on his side, and hopefully no more door bashing moments with him and Charlie. I think that would definitely help.
Yeah, another thing I just want to mention that might be playing with the end of the race here is that I just noticed in the top right corner, the wind did pick up slightly, and it's pushing drivers. If you look at the direction of Ascari, it would be pushing drivers a bit further out wide in Ascari, so that could be something that's changing weather conditions. And I mention it now because I was looking at the calendar, and I know I like Spa a lot, and Spa is the next race, But my goodness, Spa has very strong wind and it changes a lot. Don't be surprised for next race if there's a lot of mistakes from drivers because of changing wind conditions. Sometimes it'll be giving you a headwind down the Kemmel Straight, and other times it'll be pushing you about 8 meters per second out of Puan to the runoff area. Like, it changes quite a lot. It's not that bad at Monza, but it does affect the car. It affects the top speed of the car. It affects the drivability of the car. And Iceman gets a 1 second penalty in turn one, but that wasn't part of the point. But it does affect the drivability and affects the speed and stuff like that. And if your top speed increases suddenly, you might miss your braking point. You might turn in too late, and that's just something to note because I know Spa, it's quite notorious for it. And every time I've raced there, there's been some sort of wind related thing where the wind changes directions and flips 180 degrees, and all of a sudden now we're going 5 kilometers an hour slower on the straight.
Yeah, obviously, both of us had our fair share of laps in the off season driving around Spa, so we've had a bit of practice before going to Spa, and like you say, we've had our fair share of kind of battling with the wind and trying to control some of these cars. So it'd be interesting to see how, you know, some of the drivers that have picked those new cars, how they get on during the Spa race, which is round 2. But saying that, as we join the Dark Lord, he has gone onto the last lap, so we are on the last lap of the race. He's just about to get to Ascari, and no one's really phased him this race. He got pole position, and from kind of flag to flag, he's had no real issues. Saying about that, Midnight and Citily having a bit of a battle on the last lap.
I mean, Dark Lord, he certainly made up for that sprint race where he had that issue into turn one, caused a bit of chaos. So I think he's made up for that now with this feature race, taking it home in P1. As Midnight and Citily having a bit of a battle here. As Midnight's gonna go off and hit the gravel, it's gonna slow him down, and Citily gonna get ahead there. That's unfortunate for Midnight, just to add more pain to his race. But Dark Lord is going to come across the line in first position and a good bit behind. Fada heading through the Parabolica, going to come home in second place in that Supra. Mercedes, it's a quite spread out grid. I think Mercedes is not even in Parabolica right now. He's heading down the back straight. So for once, we're not going to be like speed running people as they come across the finish line. We've got some quite nice gaps. I believe there's a position change there actually, just a few seconds ago on the leaderboard. I don't know who that was. Nigel and Sophie are having a battle, I believe. There for 6th and 7th, but Mercedes is going to come across the line in 3rd place. Nigel heads round the outside, can't quite get the move done, but it's going to be side by side up to the line. Pedro's coming along the line in 4th. Rose is in 5th. We'll have to see who comes in 6th position here. They're side by side. Nigel gets it at the line.
Nice one. I think Sophie will be a little bit, disappointed about that, but a photo finish, definitely one to go in the books. Charlie comes home in P8. Citily has looked like he's got that position on Midnight, done and dusted. He's going to finish P9 unless something happens. And then Midnight
comes home 9th there. Midnight 10th. We've got Joe ending up in 11th with Ziggy falling behind. 0.5 second penalty, but that's okay. That gets served at the line. Iceman in 13th. Phil in 14th. Unfortunate for him, not the best race, but he'll be back next race, I'm sure. And Birdie in 15th, rounding out the final place of the race classification.
Yeah, what a race that was. We didn't really have the time to talk in that last lap, but everything was going on. But obviously, that's what we said earlier, that everyone's strategy kind of comes together in those closing laps of the race, and they definitely did. And it's good to see, obviously, some drivers that may have a little bit of experience battling with each other, but some new pairings as well, like Nigel and Sophie in that closing couple of laps. They were having quite a battle, and obviously another photo finish to go in the books. But it looked like, obviously, Dark Lord was quite far ahead. I didn't realise how far ahead he actually was, because when we watched him cross the line, Citily and Midnight were only reaching turn 1. So Dark Lord created quite a healthy gap for himself.
Of course, I mean, Dark Lord is last year, or sorry, not last year. He is
Season 4.
season four. Yes, I don't know why I said last year. I'm tired. I'm as tired as the drivers. But yeah, season four champion, of course. So don't expect much else from him because, of course, he's quite a quick driver, and quite a solid performance from him today. And I'm sure he will try and take that along with him for the rest of the season if he can, to keep that momentum. I'm sure we'll find out in the next round at Spa. But yeah, overall great race. Some really good performances. Some drivers that, of course, will be a bit disappointed that they had a few moments in the sprint and the feature race. But overall, there was some really good driving and battles for the drivers on the grid.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And obviously, it's interesting to see some of the picks of cars that people have chosen. But I'd say for most of the drivers, they, like I said earlier, they seem to be gelling quite well. Obviously, it might be a bit too early to tell from round one around a track like this because it is either people's favourites or least favourites. So obviously, I think Spa will be a bit more of a challenging track for some of the drivers. So we might see, people getting to grips with their cars a little bit more, or it might go the other way. They might hate their cars. But yeah, overall good race. Obviously, like you say, some drivers may have wished to do a little bit better, but I think all in all, drivers should be pretty proud of how they've started the season. And I think that kind of perfectly leads us on to picking driver of the day. And I'm going to throw it to you, Mac, to choose first.
Say it was some good performances out there today, but in the end, consistency is key. And I think for that reason, I'm going to give it to Fodder. I'm going to give Fodder driver of the day. Double P2s for this round. Very strong. He would be at least in the top three of the table in second place after this performance. So that is a very strong position to be in heading into next round, which is Spa, and anything can happen at Spa. So to have that buffer in second position is going to be quite handy for him. So I'd have to say, yeah, Fodder driver of the day. But overall, all the drivers are great, and there were some nice battles out there. And looking forward to seeing what happens in Spa.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you actually. Like you said, consistency is king, and I think you could be very happy with a double P2. Maybe potentially, obviously, missing out on some points like the pole position, fastest lap points, etc. But he's quite close to Dark Lord, and that's not easy to do. So this early in the championship, he's definitely put himself in a good position to have hopefully some good fights with Louis, our season 4 champion. Um, but yeah, like you say, all the drivers doing a good job. I think Nigel seems to be doing well in the Porsche. As well as Iceman, obviously, I think he's an honourable shout out because he did hold off Fodder just about in that sprint race. So it's good to see him, choosing a different car. We normally see him in the Genesis. He's picked the Lexus, and he seems to be doing pretty well. So yeah, I think a good race from all the drivers. Having a little look of the stewards report, we did have a penalty for Charlie. Doesn't lose him a position on track, but he does gain a 5-second penalty after that collision with Midnight, which I don't know about you, Mac. I think it's fair because obviously it didn't just affect him; it did affect obviously Midnight and Cicely. But I'm sure Charlie will be eager not to have similar incidents going forwards.
Yeah, it's fair enough. He wasn't ahead, so yeah, I think that's a fair decision. And yeah, I mean, at least he knows for next time.
Yeah. Unfortunate for Midnight and Silly getting that position, that damage. Sorry, but I think that kind of you know sets us up nicely for round 2, Spa. Like you mentioned earlier, going to be a challenging track for some of the drivers, but I'm excited.
I'm commentating Red Lobby this time round, but the next time round I'll be racing on track. I couldn't attend the first round because of college, but I'll be back. I'm gonna be back on track. So you'll see me in my Ferrari, my beloved, my 296, the new one. So looking forward to that. And yeah, I'll probably be commentating Blue Lobby next time round. So it was great to commentate with you, Sarah. And looking forward to seeing what happens in round 2.
Yeah, same back at you. Good to commentate with you, and I can't wait to see your Ferrari hit the track next time. But yeah, let's go see how the Blue Lobby did the feature race, and then we'll be on to round 2.
Bye bye.